Everyone was astonished by Chumlee's most recent court struggle, although the popular Pawn Stars celebrity has had his fair share of challenges. For the beloved reality personality, what could have possibly caused such a dramatic turn of events? Chumlee, played by Austin Lee Russell, has become a byword for charisma, wit, and an appreciation for unusual antiques thanks to the popular reality show Pawn Stars. It is a tribute to Chumlee's devotion and distinctive personality that he rose to prominence and financial success despite joining the show 5 years into its successful run. A moniker that would follow Chumlee throughout his life and profession originated during his childhood in Las Vegas, Nevada. His father gave him the nickname Chumlee in honor of the walrus sidekick of the cartoon character Tennessee Tuxedo. From a young age on, Chumlee's charming personality and sharp sense of humor won over everyone he met. Even after he became an adult, this fun nickname remained with him and became his Pawn Stars identity. In 2009, Chumlee shot to stardom after History Channel debuted at Pawn Stars, a show that followed Rick Harrison, owner of the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop in Las Vegas, as he went about his everyday business. After gaining a reputation for his contagious laughs and engaging attitude while working behind the counter, Chumlee was soon cast in front of the camera. His character developed greatly despite his late arrival to the program. The fact that Rick Harrison has treated him like a son and their tight friendship has helped him earn $1,000 every episode. Immediately after becoming famous, he began to parlay his fortune into a number of businesses and art collections. His enthusiasm for old cars, including a Rolls-Royce Phantom and a Cadillac Escalade, and an extensive shoe collection numbering over 200 have contributed to his net worth, which is now estimated to be around $5 million. Aside from his penchant for pinball machines, video games, and Pokemon cards, Chumlee's interests cover a wide range of topics, showcasing his varied tastes and entrepreneurial energy. But there have been obstacles along the way to Chumlee's fame. Some in the antiques and collectibles community have criticized him for buying knockoffs, such as a Gibson guitar that was actually a knockoff. The humility and readiness to learn from his mistakes that Chumlee demonstrates in spite of these failures has won him fans all across the globe. On reality TV, he is relatable because he can laugh at himself and accept his flaws. Chumlee's eye for valuables extends beyond the pawn store. In addition, he has an uncanny knack for identifying rare and antique trainers. Chumlee is well known for his lightning-fast skills at identifying fake Jordans, but his knowledge of rare bicycles, samurai swords, and antiques goes much beyond that. The real worth of the 3 samurai swords that Chumlee traded for $3,800 in a classic Pawn Stars episode was more than $13,000. His enthusiastic personality and knack for making lucrative trades were on full display in this striking bargain, which won over the audience. Notable too are his forays into fields unrelated to Pawn Stars. As evidence of his penchant for expensive and uncommon goods, Chumlee spent $8,700 on a Baudouin Spacelander bike in Season 8, which is worth over $20,000. Audiences were astounded by his daring financial tactics and diversified taste as he pulled this stunt. Even outside of television, Chumlee's candy shop venture demonstrates his entrepreneurial zeal. He and his brother Sage Russell founded a store selling retro sweets like Razzles and candy smokes to satisfy their own tastes and the needs of their customers. His candy shop has become a neighborhood favorite, attracting customers from all over thanks to his entrepreneurial spirit and keen eye for customer tastes. Chumlee wanted to branch out from Pawn Stars, so he brought up the idea of a candy-themed spin-off series. Despite the ups and downs of both endeavors, he is still dedicated to the show that brought him prominence. The shop's advantageous position and Chumlee's everlasting popularity helped it prosper despite occasional setbacks like Rick Harrison closing his neighboring store. In the midst of Chumlee's meteoric rise to popularity on Pawn Stars and Freedom, a police probe into his Las Vegas house reshaped his reputation outside of the reality TV spotlight. A search warrant was executed at Chumlee's apartment in March 2016 by Las Vegas police, shattering the tranquility of his environment. At first linked to a sexual assault claim, the investigation uncovered disturbing evidence: a stash of weapons and narcotics. He had a plethora of firearms, handguns, revolvers, rifles, and shotguns, some of which were kept in a safe within his residence, along with marijuana and methamphetamine. There was a lot of detail in the police report about the things found in several rooms, including the notorious Chum room, which included a dance pole. Police found cash with drug residue and drug paraphernalia, creating an image that was drastically different from his movie persona. The seriousness of the matter was demonstrated by Chumlee's first hesitation to open his vault. He asserted that it included private belongings such as guns and marijuana for individual consumption, which is against the law as drug addicts cannot legally own firearms. The firearms and narcotics were seized by law authorities due to this stance, which laid the groundwork for a lengthy court struggle. As he began his journey through the judicial system, Chumlee was confronted with charges that would shape his public image, such as drug offenses and felony firearm possession. His defense attorney, David Chesnoff, aggressively pursued the case. Following his detention, Chumlee's personal and professional life came under intense scrutiny from the media. The plea deal marked a turning point, an opportunity in the middle of turbulent waters. To lessen the severity of his possible prison sentence, Chumlee decided to plead guilty in order to minimize the accusations against him, which included felony firearm possession and misdemeanor. Important steps towards taking responsibility and repairing his reputation were laid out in the agreement, which required counseling, probation, and the surrender of confiscated weapons. There were other Pawn Stars cast members who got into trouble besides Chumlee. The public also took notice of Corey "Big O"'s Harrison's share of high-profile litigation matters. After a brawl at Big Bear Lake, California's Murray's Saloon and Eatery in 2011, Corey got himself into some problems. Corey and another client got into an increasingly heated altercation late on a Sunday night. A deputy from the sheriff's office and a security officer were both captivated by the altercation. A constable and a guard were shoved by Corey when they attempted to step in. He was arrested and charged with violence and resisting arrest following this outburst, which placed him in the Big Bear Lake jail. Before being freed, he remained in detention for a short period to sober up. The police allegedly urged Corey to apologize, but he declined since he felt he had done nothing wrong, according to Corey's lawyer. However, Corey still faced more challenges. In 2021, he made headlines once again, this time for damaging a rented recreational vehicle. Corey borrowed a 37-foot recreational vehicle RV from William Villafane through the RV share industry. Corey planned to utilize the recreational vehicle as a makeshift office while traversing the California desert for 3 days. Corey returned the RV 6 days later in utter disrepair, though, so everything went wrong. Upon inspecting his RV, Villafane was taken aback by its state. The inside was a total mess, the awning was gone, and the RV itself was in bad shape. Images displayed broken eggs scattered on the floor. A jumble of empty vodka bottles and beach sand. The floor was covered with filthy towels and wires were removed. Villafane estimated that the repair expenses would range from $20,000 to $30,000 due to the considerable damage. In his account, Villafane mentioned that he had first failed to recognize Corey when receiving the RV delivery. There were no problems with the rental agreement being signed because Corey had been kind. When Corey's assistant told Villafane that they wouldn't be able to return the RV on time, things started to go wrong. The news that the RV was in an accident with an ATV reached Villafane after several days. The recreational vehicle was in a terrible state when it was ultimately returned to Villafane's storage facility. Corey declined to pay the damages that Villafane attempted to recover. Even though Corey denied responsibility for the damage, RV Share's insurance had already expired. Villafane's anger was obvious as he detailed how the incident exacerbated the burden that COVID-19 had already placed on his firm by forcing him to cancel 10 reservations. In addition to the legal issues that Chumlee and Corey faced, Rick's pawn shop operations caused him a great deal of stress. A diamond purchase that seemed simple turned out to be one of Rick's most embarrassing gaffes. Entering the pawn shop, a dapper man brandished what seemed like an assortment of priceless gems. Rick, who had been in similar situations before, checked everything out. He inquired in an appropriate manner, I wanted to know the gems' provenance, how they were acquired, and where they originated from. The vendor presented plausible explanations and receipts that appeared to be real. Rick paid more than $40,000 for the diamonds, basking in confidence in the deal. But the cops brought terrible news to the pawn store a few days later. Someone had reported the gems as stolen. A complex hoax included the responses and invoices that seemed real. The jewels were returned to their original owner after being taken by the police. As a result, Rick and the pawn store lost all $40,000 and were severely financially affected. According to Rick's recollection, this was one of the most significant busts that the business had ever seen. I learned the hard way about the dangers of pawnbroking with huge stakes. However, that wasn't the last of Rick's problems with stolen things. Ryan, another interesting customer, came into the store with a shekel of tire, which made for an interesting story. There was great historical significance to this silver coin that was struck in Lebanon between 130 BC and 79 AD. Ryan further enhanced the coin's allure by suggesting it might be one of the 30 pieces of silver that were awarded to Judas Iscariot for betraying Jesus Christ, as reported in the Bible. The incredible assertion could not be confirmed, but the coin's potential worth was too good to refuse. Given its possible historical importance, Rick felt the $1,600 price tag was reasonable for the shekel of tire. Unfortunately, additional bad news came from a sheriff who showed up at the store not long after the sale. The coin had been taken, but not by Ryan. It had been acquired by another party. Thanks to insurance benefits, the pawn shop was able to retain the coin. But that wasn't the end of the story. After giving it a better look, Rick saw that Ryan had cleaned the coin, which greatly diminished its worth. A Tyrian shekel in its original form would have been approximately $1,200. After cleaning, its worth dropped, thus Rick had paid $400 more than he should have. The pawn shop's legendary transactions with stolen goods were further embellished by this transaction, which was engulfed in historical intrigue and financial mismanagement. The pawn store was the setting for a lot of action, but that wasn't all. The shop was the scene of several of the most expensive blunders, and Chumlee was always in the middle of them. Everything delicate and priceless is kept in the rear chamber of the gold and silver pawn shop. Chumlee failed on multiple occasions to properly handle these goods, despite their extreme fragility. His carefree and unprofessional demeanor caused him to make a number of expensive mistakes, which greatly irritated the Harrisons. A guitar worth $20,000 was involved in one of the most infamous cases. The instrument was carelessly leant against a stand by Chumlee, who was in charge of the storage area. The instrument dropped, as one would expect, and broke beyond repair. The store had to shell out $20,000 to fix the guitar after the buyer returned it. They took a financial and reputational impact as a result of this episode. As expected, Rick and the squad were distraught. Even though they had stressed the need of being careful with things many times to Chumlee, he still managed to let his playful side get the best of him. He was caught many times by security cameras tampering with expensive stuff. Rick was perpetually irritated by Chumlee's antics because he had a hard time balancing the show's value with the realities of running a successful business. There was more than one instance of Chumlee's conduct in the back room. Damage to items occurred as a result of his carelessness on multiple instances. As an example, he shattered a vintage vase in the storage room by kicking a football about. On a separate occasion, he caused irreversible damage by knocking over an extremely precious and rare picture. Every time, the store had to bear the financial burden and handle dissatisfied customers. These pranks in the back area revealed a major problem for the pawn store. Gold and silver customers want their valuables to be handled with the utmost care and respect. Such occurrences eroded that faith. The store's bottom line could take a major hit if word got out that customers couldn't trust them with expensive things. In spite of all of this, Rick decided to keep Chumlee on the squad. While Chumlee's antics were expensive, they were entertaining for viewers of the History Channel's program. Rick was aware that removing Chumlee from the team could change the dynamic that contributed to Pawn Star's success. But this necessitated figuring out how to lessen the blow that Chumlee could deliver. A vintage motorbike was the object of one, rather costly blunder. Without someone to keep an eye on him, Chumlee got interested and rode it around the parking lot. The bike, which was damaged and had a value in the thousands of dollars, fell over. The store was obligated to pay for the repairs, which was just one more example of Chumlee's numerous missteps in the boardroom. Chumlee's presence on the show was priceless, but Rick knew his patience would be challenged constantly. The audience adored Chumlee despite the trouble he caused Rick and the gang with his eccentric behavior. The petty missteps and dubious dealings that occurred during transactions at the gold and silver pawn store were far more serious and interesting than Chumlee's antics in the back room. A stunning pair of gold coins was involved in one of the most contentious cases. On set, Jennifer Beckman entered the pawn shop and offered to sell a few valuable gold coins, setting the stage for the events that would unfold. It looked like a simple deal. Everyone was pleased since she gave the store the coins and they paid more than $10,000. Things, however, were anything but easy. The coins had been stolen and Rick and his crew had no idea. Her uncle quickly found out that Jennifer had stolen his coins and called the police. As soon as the police got involved, Jennifer was taken into custody, while her uncle was demanding that her return his monies. It didn't take long for the pawn shop's legal woes to escalate. The most significant issue? The currency had vanished. Although it is standard practice in the pawn industry to melt down valuables to recover their full value, Rick had already made up his mind to do so in this instance. While most laws prohibit the sale or disposal of stolen goods, gold coins are an exception. Due to this exception, the pawn shop found itself in a precarious situation. Another complicating factor was the uncle's assertion that the coins were worth more than $50,000. Rick and his group felt this assessment was too high and challenged it. However, they ended up with a damaged reputation and a significant financial loss as a result of the whole affair. Due to legal protections, the pawn shop was unable to restore the coins, and the uncle's attempt to sue was also unsuccessful. The pawn shop did everything by the book, but it still got itself into a lot of trouble. The path to stardom for Chumlee has been anything but mundane, what with all the obstacles and scandals. His legendary appearances on American Restoration, The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, and Live with Kelly and Ryan, among others, solidified his place in popular culture, going beyond his work on Pawn Stars. Once again, Chumlee's private life was in the spotlight in 2022. Like Corey Harrison's 100-pound weight loss in 2014, his weight loss journey drew the attention of fans. Because of his fame, Chumlee was able to start selling t-shirts with his own designs. This business endeavor was successful, allowing him to diversify his revenue sources. As if that weren't enough, Chumlee continued to expand his business interest by investing $105,000 to buy half of Rick Harrison's shares in the pawn firm. His standing with viewers was mostly unaffected by his legal issues in 2016. His perseverance in front of the camera and his willingness to interact with viewers were crucial to his success. After paying $1.1 million for his Las Vegas property in 2012, Chumlee once again made headlines in early 2019 when he sold it for roughly $1.375 million. The property, which included an expansive home and his renowned chum room, was a reflection of his taste and astute investing decisions. Another creative and financial outlet for Chumlee was his foray into music, specifically hip-hop. Audiences were agog to hear his one-of-a-kind DJ sets at Las Vegas hotspots like the Gold Spike Day Club. Chumlee's ascent from reality TV star to multi-talented entrepreneur showcases his unwavering resolve and perseverance. Chumlee keeps expanding and adjusting to the dynamic entertainment and entrepreneurship scene via his various business endeavors, real estate investments, and DJ performances.